Okay, hello everyone. So, sorry I'm late, but there's lots of meetings that have been happening. And yeah, that took a little while, but now I'm here and we can get started with the stream. So let me start the screen sharing. There we go. Okay, cool. So let me see if I can do this one instead, because that one makes the screen a little bit bigger, I think, so it makes it a little bit easier to see. But anyway, so in this live stream, I wanted to do a couple of things. The first thing I wanted to do is kind of showcase the platform a little bit to the people who are here. Show where the progress is, what you can do with it, and things like that. And give a little update on like the timing. So we were planning to release it at the beginning of June, or at the end of May, essentially. And yeah, that didn't quite happen, but we do have something that is working. And I would say it's more like there's like kind of specifics of where it hasn't implemented all the features that I think are the baseline features that we need. And we've had to kind of rethink some of them in terms of like how to run that in the cloud and stuff like that. Our software is kind of originally made for being running in a single tenant. So getting it to work in like this cloud thing has caused some issues that we need to fix. They're all obvious issues. It's not like there's like hidden issues, but it's more like things don't work or things are much slower than they were, and we have to change our UI to kind of deal with that. So in our internal kind of dev environment, starting up things is like essentially instant, and there's no issues with that. But in the production environment, starting up instances of Jupyter Lab is like taking 5 minutes. We're not 100% sure why that's happening, and so we have to do some updates to the UI to get it to work better. But yeah, there's just small things left to do, and we should be ready to let everyone access the platform pretty soon. That said, there's no real limits right now. So if you know what you're doing, you can log in and try it for yourself. Just kind of assume that you're totally welcome to do that. And if there are any problems with it, just head over to the Xpress AI platform Discord, and yeah, and then show us give us any feedback or any bugs that you might run into. But anyway, so right now this is kind of the current state of the platform. You have your projects, which are your spaces that you can use to customize your agents and things like that. Kind of like a namespace for your agents, right? And I had Eganzell's food projects. This is my food bar project. And essentially there's services and jobs, right? So the services are essentially any kind of like web service, essentially. So yeah, if you go start new service, you can put the command that you want to put in here, and the port right now is kind of limited to 8888. This is one of the issues that we've kind of run into, and then the resources that you want to make available to that service, and then that allows you to um, kind of take your circuits file and expose it to the internet, right, as a service. And there's a couple of things we need to then allow in here, which is authorization, essentially. So that's a little thing that's pending there. And then there's jobs, and jobs are, right now they're like a command and resources again. But essentially, when you think about what does it mean to have an AI agent, and like how is that going to work? You can imagine that you might have like a agent that is kind of on your Discord, and you can say, "Hey, I need you to do something," and then ask it to do something. And it doesn't go away and just do the thing, right? Like the bot is still there, and if you actually have this bot as like a public bot that is available to multiple servers, it doesn't make sense for the bot to like freeze while it's fulfilling your request. So the idea there is when you give it a job, the agent kind of understands that you're trying to launch a job, right? That you're giving it a task to do, and then it starts, a job where there's some limits on the job, like how long it's going to run, and what resources it has, and those kind of things. So you can kind of think of it as, if you're a fan of Rick and Morty, that a job is like pressing the button, right? And then a Mr. Meeseeks comes along. That's going to be a job here. And essentially you tell the job the objective that you want, and then the job is going to continue to do that until it is accomplished, and then it will disappear because life is pain, and things like that. So yeah, so that's what jobs are, and that's going to be like the more complicated part, like how to have agents and jobs, because I kind of was originally thinking that at least in the architecture that we have in Gen in our Discord, Gen is running all the time, and when you ask Gen to do something with the browser, Gen puts something in a queue, and then it gets worked on. And that's kind of what I was expecting. It was like it would be a service, like an agent would be like a service, and then there'd be one queue, and that works. But when you think about like how Gen is going to work, Gen is going to be in many servers at the same time, and talking to many people. So limiting Gen to just one kind of queue seems a little short-sighted. At the same time, you could just run multiple servers, right? Like you'd have just like multiple servers running against the queue, and then they would be like workers, and that works too. But there's no real thing that you gain by having your like workers sharing resources. The advantage of having this job thing is, based off of the like user's account and their subscription level, we can have more than one job be available at once, right? Like we can launch multiple, like for the free tier, there's just one job at a time. And so you just have a job. And then those things are running in a low priority kind of constrained environment. And then for the people who are in the middle tier, they get the priority job queue, and they can have like 3 jobs running at once, right? Like that's kind of the idea. So, you can ask it to do 3 things, and then it will, like work on those 3 things. And then everything else that you ask it to do are going to be, in queued jobs. And just kind of wait here in this queue. So we don't necessarily have to do the worker thing, because the advantage is mainly that once the job is done, that container is erased and we're back to the initial state, which I think is going to be pretty useful, because if you have like old screenshots lying around, or things like that, that might complicate things and might make things not work so well. So having everything be like like one task, one environment, and then that environment goes away, like completely Mr. Me-seeking the thing, I think is going to work pretty well. So that's what we have there. And so, you might be wondering, well, what about the agents? And the agents are the thing that's going to come next. So essentially, the agent itself is, we're not sure if it's going to be something that's inside of a project. It might be, because that makes it, it makes it so that we only have one thing, right? We do kind of like that. And the agent is able to kind of make use of services and in-queue jobs, and you can customize your agent, and things like that. So the idea is that there'll be a kind of component library for launching jobs and an agent library for defining the agent, and things like that. So actually, maybe I should say we have a component library for defining the bot in a generic way, such that you can deploy the bot into various other environments. So if you wanted to deploy it in Discord, you could deploy it on Discord. If you wanted to deploy it in Slack, you could deploy it in Slack. Or if you wanted to use it from inside the platform, that should be possible too. You can go to Xpress AI and then just talk with your bot, probably in a very technologic type of UI. And yeah, that's kind of the current state of the platform. There's still a little bit to do, but it's the fundamentals are still the same, right? Like an agent is a service, but it's probably a service that doesn't have a port, or maybe it does, because there are like webhook requirements sometimes. So we might take services and rename that into agents, and or we might just keep services, because maybe you want to use the platform for more than just agents, right? Or have the services be able to kick jobs as well. So I mean, we're going to focus on the agent thing for now, but it's just some food for thought about how that works. But anyway, so you can currently go here and create a new project, and I'll call this like test project 5 or something like that. I don't think I have 2 or 3, but just in case. There's templates, and we'll be expanding this quite a lot in the July timeframe. So right now it's just a drop down, but I think we'll switch that into a whole different thing, so you can have different templates of agents. So essentially the idea is, if you're if you're not really a programmer and you don't have any specific need for an agent, then you're just going to use like the default Zybo template, and that will give you a bot that is perfectly useful and reasonable for simple cases. And then we have our circuits OS, and then maybe we'll change that so it's like stuck to the project. And we might get rid of this Git repository, but it might be a thing for more advanced users. So essentially, once you create the project, you can then open it up, and you can still edit some of the things in there, mainly the name, kind of right now. But you can also start an interactive session, And that is how you start circuits. So if you just click this button, it will kick off the process to start circuits. And in our development environment, it's already ready to go right now. But in our current cloud, it does seem to take 5 minutes or so before it's ready to go. So yeah, I think we might wait here, or I can just open up one of my other projects. So this is the bar project. If I open that up, we'll get into the circuits. Yeah, so this is currently the brain of Zybo. Like the entire logic of Zybo is in here. So it is, it's complicated, but it's also real. And what I want to do on this stream is mainly take this and encapsulate it into like a single thing, right? And see what that looks like. Like what things do we need? What kind of a component would it be? What things do we need to incorporate and things like that? So that's my thinking of what I'll do on this stream. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think I'll do it here. I'm pretty sure. Let me do a quick test for like a terminal. Terminal bash echo OpenAI.org. OpenAI.org. I do not. Okay. I won't be able to do anything from within here. I have a bash RC. Yeah, I have a bash RC. I don't think there's anything in it. Okay. Well, anyway, I'll try and figure that out. We don't really need everything to be working per se. So anyway, I started sketching out this kind of component library. Kind of interested in how this works. Frieza mentioned we want to show what sharing this would be like. And I think that's file. How do you share? And save and export the notebook and save the circuits. Where is the share link? Or perhaps we're running an older version on here. That could be a thing. I don't necessarily know which version of circuits we are running. From the file. So if I go, so this is untitled circuits. That's that one. I think this is inside of Easy Agent untitled circuits. So if I copy shareable link, it goes here. Yeah, so that works for me because I'm in here. But if I were somebody else and try to access this, it's going to say that it needs a token or a password. And that could be a thing. We actually, in Engine, had a username password thing here, mainly for SSH, but we removed it in this version. And it could be that we show the Jupyter Lab token here so that you can share it with other people. But anyway, so easy agents. So easy agents. What I had here was like a deploy Zybo agent component that would take a tool belt of some sort and then a chat source. So that you'd have like a Discord chat source or maybe a Slack chat source, and then you like hook up your Zybo to Discord. And then for the tool belt, you could hook up your Google Sheets to your Zybo, and now you should have a Zybo that's able to work with Google Sheets. That's kind of the idea. And when it comes to this Discord tool, well, there's a lot of things you need to specify with your Discord bot, like your secret key and those kind of things. The idea was that you would specify that in your project and it would have a name, and then you just like go, use my Discord, but have Zybo, use the Discord Zybo profile, either in your project or in your account, so that when this starts, it starts up and uses the credentials from Zybo, or you might have this called foobar or whatever you want, just a different profile for yourself. Yeah, the other thing I put here, remember this is mainly a sketch, is like on stuck and on finished. And the idea there is, can I make it kind of ask for help in a way? So if it can detect, for example, that it's, it's kind of hitting a CAPTCHA that it can't go past, or something of that nature, you could have it send you a message on Discord or something, and then then you could help it and then restart it. But if we're going at this super high level and Discord is like a source and not what we have here, right? So if you have like an on stuck, you'd probably have like a Discord post message or something like that, where you'd post a message, hey, I'm stuck, help, right? But that's not the level that we're trying to achieve here right now. So that can't work that way. Though having unfinished, I think, could be a thing, because you might want to do something when the task is finished. You might not be able to get what happened or anything like that, just that there's a notification that the task's finished, and instead of just replying to the original message, it could do something else, right? Like maybe send an email or something. So on stuck, I'm not so sure about, but on finished, I think does kind of make a little bit of sense. So yeah, is this what we want? So mainly I need to think about like different scenarios. So this kind of, that there's Google Sheets and then there's Discord and things like that, that is actually kind of essentially what Zybo is right now. So if you were to look at the Zybo circuit file, you'll see it has, like a couple of custom tools like the image generator and the add, spreadsheet and Gspread stuff, right? And then it kind of does the Hugging Face init thing, and now it's just a Discord bot. So you can totally imagine that I can encapsulate the Google Sheets tool and adding tools to the tool belt and things like that in something like this. That works fine. And then talking in Discord, I think that works fine too. But if we look at some of the other use cases that we've kind of run across, one is this idea of this like Twitter tool. So imagine you want a bot that periodically posts different like anime screenshots, not necessarily screenshots, but like promotional things from a file. So there's like a folder with a bunch of images that's like just images ready for publication, and you want to task the bot to like periodically post these images onto Twitter, like one a day or something like that, and then respond, anytime somebody responds to that or engages with us, please, respond in a kind way or something like that. So there's one guy who really wants to do that with the agent. Or there's another one where the guy has created what's it called? He's created a bot that can summarize a podcast and then post, like clips of the podcast after it's transcribed it. Like it transcribes podcasts and then makes Twitter posts based off the most interesting parts of the podcast interview and then post them at regular intervals. And that's something that you should be able to ask the bot to do as well. But the Twitter tool is not necessarily a chat source, right? So like just connecting it there doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm not sure that this, this works for the current Zybo, but it's not generic enough for the different use cases we have in mind. Well, this thing is mainly, it's a sketch, right? So it doesn't even have an exec or anything. But what else could it do? Having a chat source is an interesting one, but I kind of don't think I don't want to have to do this for each one. Like if I wanted to deploy my Zybo bot both to Discord and Slack, I don't want to make two, right? I feel like it doesn't need to be two. It can just be one. So I think we want to get rid of this whole chat source idea. And a Zybo agent in Engine is connected to Slack or Discord or Teams or whatever it is you want to connect it to. And then the tool belt, so right now it's just one tool, right? And we do have plans to make an expando list, but we don't have that yet, so you kind of need a tool belt. And essentially, you take one of the tool specs and you put it in there. And if you had another tool spec, you would put it somewhere else. I really don't know what causes that bug. Maybe I should fix that bug because it's quite annoying. I'm using a Magic Mouse right now, and something about it is a problem. I don't know what it is because I did think maybe it has to do with scrolling, but like if I scroll and then let go, okay, yeah, that's not connected, right? But I didn't scroll then. I didn't scroll there. You know, like why is this so flaky? And yeah, there's no real difference on what I did that time. Um, but anyway, so let's say you had your Google Sheets tool, right? And you also wanted to have it also be able to do Twitter. Then you would connect your Twitter tool here. Again, same bug. That's very, very annoying. I really don't know what's causing it. It's like so flaky for me, and I don't know why. It doesn't seem to happen on like Apple Silicon Macs for some reason. So I don't know if that's at all related. I'd be very surprised if it was. But anyway, so let's say we have our finish deploy tool belt. Then that would go here, and this tool belt goes there. And again, we connect. Okay, so that would be how you would say, I want a Zybo agent that has access to Google Sheets and Twitter using the, let's say, Express AI Twitter handle, which I think is our Twitter handle. Yeah, Express AI is that. So, and yeah, like, would this be a tool or would it be a chat source? That's a really, really good question. And probably why you shouldn't deal with chat sources in general, I think. So, yeah, I think I'll give up on the whole chat source idea. Google Sheets tool has an interesting idea here, which is limiting it to a specific folder and then specifying it to be read-only or not. So I do think that's an interesting feature to be able to specify it as read-only, because it might delete your files. It's like, in general, I have low trust of these things. So for me, having safety nets, like forcing it to be read-only or something like that, makes sense to me. But maybe my fears are overblown. Now, one thing is, I don't have the actor framework on here, I don't think, right? I have the easy agent, but I don't have the actors here. I can't remember if we open sourced it or not. Yes, we have. Okay, so let's add that here. We can open up this terminal. And install the requirements. Okay, cool. So here in refresh, we should now have actors. The ordering on this list is the craziest thing, I have to admit. Really have no idea what order it's in. But yeah, and here we have create actor system, define actor, and then we can, yeah, then we have our actor for something, and then we can define another actor for something. And we can tell actors to do things, and stuff like that. All that's really good. And I'm not sure I would be using it, but I think I will be using it internally in here because agent essentially should be ready to handle multiple tasks at once. I think. Then the Gmail tool, that would be very useful. Then this email tool is shouldn't really be called tool. It was like an email chat source so that you could kind of chat to the bot by email. But yeah, it shouldn't be something that you define on circuits. Then that brings up the question, you know, if you have your Google Sheets tool and your Twitter tool, what is the point of doing this in circuits if you could quite easily do this in the UI? Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Like, well, it is simple. The problem is that there's no real point to this circuits. Like, it's totally implementable. Like, I could have a deploy Zybo agent that does all of this, essentially, just hard-coded. It wouldn't be too hard to program. But what's the point of specifying the tools this way? I think what makes more sense is something like HF agent make tool as being the thing that you can do in your circuits. Because in here we have I've wrote a spreadsheet and an image generator, and that kind of stuff makes sense to define in circuits files. And then, like, what's the difference between that and Zapier? Zapier is kind of similar, but at least with this, you can kind of customize the chat. And then the other thing that I would like to be able to do with an agent is to be able to give it long-term instructions, right? So I do think that we need a kind of clock tool. And then if I give it something that I would like it to continuously do, every time the language model gets called with the clock tool, it should determine whether or not it should take that action or not, and then do that. Let's think about it a little bit. I don't know how much people want to be able to drag and drop things. And there's a lot of feedback from armchair scientists and back row seat drivers, kind of people, who say that circuits is definitely too complicated for most people, and we need to have a different UI. That said, the people who have signed up for the waiting list are, they're signing up for this, right? Like they saw this essentially, and they thought that this is what they wanted. So I don't want to deviate too far from what we have until we have a lot of data showing otherwise. Hmm. Can give them access to modifiability. And yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing, I think. The ability to have, so if I gave someone a template that has this and they want to do something else with it, they can. Hmm. Yeah, the complexity of this thing scares people away for sure. Um, But if somebody was going to make a chatbot for X, maybe not a chatbot, right? That is a problem. What would it take to recreate, to hit play, and then get the output window to be like the Chat GPT window? Hmm. And it's way too hot here. 32 degrees. Wow. It's like nothing, but my computer is not going to be able to handle it for much longer. Hmm. I wonder, if I define a search function, will an HF agent use it? I do think it would be nice if we could chat with the agent here. inside the circuits, like as a debugging thing. How would I do that? Streamlit, that's not going to work. I think I tried to make a Streamlit thing, but definitely does not work very well in the platform. Do we have like show image? I don't think we do. We do have the vector ones, which I think is pretty good. Let me go to the circuits thing. So I want to see what we have here. Okay, so I think we can do things with IPython, right? So if we run this, are these interactive? I don't think they were. Something that uses some IPython widgets. That's what I was looking for. Which I guess we do have it in the which component library? If I look here, PyCaret ones. Yeah, exactly, PyCaret. So like this kind of output. So my thinking is, let's say I want to make a simple kind of chatbot type of thing, and then I want to see what that looks like. Anyway, I'm pretty sure the PyCaret is open source, right? So we can go here. PyCaret, right? And if we do clustering, what does capture do? Okay. So all this stuff is pretty PyCaret specific. But I guess in general, it's all from IPython utils. So if I look at ipython.utils, you can see what can happen here. Okay, so we can do IPython display. How can I get a text input? The formatter, eval formatter. No, that's not what I want. Is there an input? IPython input. These things. So input is kind of special. And we want interact widgets. Okay, so let's look at these docs here. Okay, so what widgets do we have? We have string widgets, like this, and text area. Okay, so let's do that real quick. So from IPyWidgets, import that. So let's make a class, make easy agent make. So it's a system prompt. And user prompt system prompt, then just those. Assistant example. Let's make it an example. Okay, assistant output example. Gives us a chance to specify what we want a little bit better. And then when we execute, we can import that. And then if I put something simple, so do I need to display this? There's something here. So input is special, get pass is special. Interact. I guess we need to use interact. So if I go here, so interact, and interact takes a function, and then the input is the thing, right? So I want to have a def site s, which prints s plus, something like that. Then I can put interact excite, then s equals widget text. Okay. Now, if we go to easy agent and put easy agent make and delete this fake stuff, we'll do this without too much hassle. Okay, and this is required. Modeling dot my base component is not defined. Is base component not defined? Weird. Weird that it wouldn't have been defined. Well, I guess maybe I didn't run it, so maybe it's not as weird. A model named IPy widgets. But we can show this, right? Could it be that simple, just like add IPy widgets? It could be that IPy widgets is a separate thing. Is there default widgets? Possibly not. I'll give it a try, see if that works or not. Probably won't work because I gotta relaunch JupyterLoad, don't we? I have a feeling that's exactly what's gonna happen, but let's see. Yeah, that seemed to like totally mess up everything. How did we show that in here? Unless it's all within capture? Could it be all within capture? If I capture import display, I have child encoding, unit tests, magics. Let's see, what can I do? I can display audio, which is kind of funny. Display code. Display object, file links, GeoJSON, HTML, iframe, image, script document, text display object, video, YouTube video, clear output. I think everything I want is in here. Data. Text. What could I use to get an input to show up? possibly the HTML thing, but the problem is I need it to re-display, and that here did not seem to work at all. Okay, so what if we get rid of this and let's see if I broke it. How about that? Okay, so let's just do this. And run this thing. Okay, execute easy agent make. S is not defined. Oh, that makes sense. And then we just make. Okay. That will work. Okay, so it's not completely broken, but IPy widgets does seem to really change the output because this banner didn't happen, this didn't happen. And, that's not too bad. Like when you think about it, that's kind of what we want if I want to change this to be our own thing. So that's not too bad. But, okay, so this is using capture. I'm going to maybe not use capture per se. I'm going to do it in here just so it's close by. And display. If I display this, what happens? Where was display? Was it .utils.display or was it something else? Let's look at capture. Because capture showed what it looked like. IPython display, import display. Okay, yeah, let's do that instead. Makes sense to me. Okay, so let's close that and rerun it. Okay, that's simple. Now, let's look at the display module. Let's try this display code. Just to see what that does. Display code if we pass Python code. Launch this. Function has no attribute code. Python.display.code. So I guess gotta import it differently here. Display Python display import code. I'm not sure if that's going to do anything. If it does, if it doesn't, it means we need to display it. Okay, so that didn't do anything. So let's display the code. Okay, so now we have code coming up. And Create a display object given raw data. And we can have an iframe. What does that look like? So if I display iframe, which is what I think it was called, right? Yeah, iframe. I think we did this before, but if we put source equals https:// technologic.express.ai, width and height. So let's put the width to be 100%, height to be 800 pixels. Not sure if that's a valid height, but we'll see. Okay, it probably wasn't a valid height. 800 instead. Should I capture it? Embed with capture output as captured, and capture.show. That didn't seem to do anything. But if I made this be code, made this be code left pass. Okay, so this capturing thing possibly works. Though it might not really be necessary. I guess if I don't show, then it doesn't show. Okay, so capture allows me to specify when to show the thing. Okay, so that's progress. And the thing has a plot model. which is the PyCare NLP special thing. Okay, is it at all possible to get into the source for this? It doesn't seem to be there. And there. Internal plots. I don't like this display. Looks like Colab is special. We have a display, clear display, CLI backend, Jupyter backend. Use IPython display. And then the Colab one, special Databricks one is kind of special. Okay, so it's importing from IPython display, import display as IPython display. And then that thing is essentially this. And we are, essentially just using that. So if we have an image, JSON, JavaScript, HTML, let me play with this HTML real quick. Do that, we will get that. I see. This is an input, type equals text. then we'll have this. It is disabled, and I'm not sure why. Is there a way for me to hijack that entire page? Pretty sure I could with some HTML. And we look at this JavaScript. Does it execute the JavaScript? Looks like no. What's a script document? I see. Okay, video, YouTube video. Okay, clear. Okay, what happens if I clear the output? Does not seem to clear the output. Wait, false. Put clear output true. See how that works. You gotta always make sure to close that window to get the code a chance to rerun. Okay, that didn't work. What if I put this outside? So. Okay, that's better. Annoying? Yes. Better? Kind of. That means that it is possible to kind of take over this thing as long as we don't finish. All right, so if I have a import time and then time dot wait, yeah. Make the largest long. That would essentially wait forever. Import sys and then sys dot backside. So if I do this Time has no attribute wait. Was it thread? No, it's time.sleep. Too large. How do I wait for a really, really long time? Okay, maybe just do the while. Okay. While true, time.sleep. Well, close enough. Okay, so with that, now nothing will make it past here. How do I get input from that? I guess I just have to flask it or something. Flasking it is a little weird, huh? That would be non-trivial. I'm not sure if the version matters too much. Up 14.0. And I'm kind of looking at some, something after 6. So I have like a hack in mind that is a hack that could work. Now the hack is essentially that I start a server and then the HTML has a form and it will post into that server. But I don't feel like that's the way most things do this stuff. And it would be kind of hard because we're currently using this, so we'd have to have another we'd have to have like an ngrok type of thing to access it from the outside. That is kind of, I mean, it's not doable, but I definitely feel like, the iPie widgets are not doing it that way, but they are an extension. Yeah, text boxes and stuff. Like Jupyter Lab is empty here. I kind of wonder if it's not Jupyter Lab compatible. That could suck. That's interesting. So we do know it doesn't really work for us, and it doesn't really mention Jupyter Lab compatibility, so might be dead in the water there. Now this is disabled, which is a little annoying. But essentially, if I had a form method equals, let's do this way. Okay, so method equals post, action equals slash text. Okay, then let me add a submit button, see what happens there. Okay, so if we run this, everything, okay, so we do get the stuff, but everything's disabled. Why is it disabled? Is there a CSS thing that disables everything? Or do I have to like set it manually? Like input type text disabled equals false. I mean, usually you put disabled when you want to disable something, and then you just don't have disabled otherwise. Yeah, that's not going to work. If I inspect this thing, yeah, it has disabled. If I were to remove disabled in here, then I have something I can enter and click and post, and everything breaks. That's expected. Why is it disabled? Can I make a JavaScript to undisable it? I think I can. Let's give this an ID. My text equals my submit. Give ourselves some more space here. And there. Then if I do script, document.query selector by text. The remove attribute. Yeah, there's a remove attribute. Disabled. And that's not fun. Do that. That works. Do that. That does not work. Does that not work? Why did that not work? Okay. So there's the string. This is interesting. We can't have script in it. Seriously. Okay. So that did work-ish. Have our div that has our widget, that has our form, that has our disabled inputs. And the script is nowhere to be found. Let's check to see if it's run. Could be run at just a weird time. Yeah, completely gone. Okay. Fine. I can run this though, right? Yeah. Is that what the JavaScript is for? So HTML -image JSON JavaScript. The notebook. in the notebook, the containing element will be available as element, and jQuery will be available. Content appended to element will be visible in the output area. Okay, so if I do HTML clear output JavaScript, I put display JavaScript, and I do element by ID by text, remove attribute disabled, and alert read. That does save. So if we run it, have a JavaScript object. Let me reread this again. Okay. I do think I need to display it right to work. Yeah. That is not what I was thinking would happen. Well, it might have happened. I was thinking it might happen. But I was hoping it wouldn't. That makes things difficult. Why would it work that way? Then we have display HTML, display the JavaScript representation of an object. Or if raw equals true, the raw data. The default is false, so let's put raw equals true. Let's see if that does what we want. Okay, so that has raw, but this doesn't have raw. Yeah, doesn't seem to have raw, but we can do that. So we have, so screw this. Let's use display HTML, display JavaScript, and clear output. I think that's what we want, right? We have display SVG, display HTML, display JavaScript. Then we don't have to do this thing. We just do display JavaScript equals true. Display HTML. If we run that, fix our parentheses, something happens. It's all have to be raw. From a security perspective, that totally makes sense. But the script is not being run. On click. Run it on click because then that's not going to run. That's annoying. No. How are IPy widgets doing this? They're using this interact. Interactive returns a widget. And we can't do this. Okay, so it's all fine. Clear output. So let's clear the output and we try that. And then clear out this stuff. And maybe that may or may not be important. Okay. Let's have the sleep. Okay. So we're missing the renderer that would render this slider correctly. And I don't think we can install it unless we rebuild the image, which is possible, just not something that we can do right now. That sucks. Because essentially I want to make it so that I can have some sort of system prompt, and then I can hit play, and then we have a chat box here that you can use to interact with your agent. Although if you think about how flexible that becomes, then essentially you need to run it, which you are doing, you are running it. So having a server side thing running is not necessarily the end of the world, but it needs to be something that kind of runs inside here. And with ports and things like that, that's what makes it kind of complicated. The other stuff is perfectly fine. And there's also the fact that the widgets are disabled by default. That is a little annoying. Display HTML. And it can totally be a file, so we can have like a pretty involved HTML there. It can be a file, right? Wait a second. If it's a file, do I have the same limit with the scripts? Unicode str or bytes or a URL or a file name. How does that work with display? So if I do display file name equals foo.html, try to run this, it should fail because it can't find foo.html, right? No. We need to have HTML here. Then if I do display HTML, file name like that, and run that. Notice it file directory foo.html. Could it possibly be in here? Just use script to convert. Is this 403 caused like by some sort of Google thing? Might be. Vim, nope. Can I add? I can't even add. But I can echo. Makes sense. Let's do that again, but instead of double quotes, let's use single quotes. Okay. Let's see if this is actually from the root or not. So if this fails with the same error, that means it's running from root. Okay, it is running from root, so it doesn't matter that we're here, but it does matter that we're here, and foo HTML is like that. That does say we, but there is still no script. Well, that does kind of ruin my plans for how this would work. If I can't run any scripts, essentially the iframe is my only choice. And that is not ideal. Let's try that iframe thing again. And we did do it before, so it's not like I need to find it. Width is 100%. Height is 640 or something like that. This thing has a widget, which is unfortunately empty, which explains the empty page. How does iframe supposed to work? Is there some sort of magic we're supposed to use? I don't think there's a magic for iframe. Totally makes sense that they do it this way for security purposes and things like that. It actually makes me wonder if we have a security vulnerability here. We might. But if that's, yeah, if we do have a security vulnerability here, we just need to have a different domain name for these, which is perfectly fine. There's no reason that it needs to be platform.expressai. It can be something else. And that would fix things. But iframe is not showing up. Why is it not showing up here? It's a good question. Let me look this up real quick to see if there's something. Display object file link. Is anyone having this issue? It's not doing. It could be that this needs to be something like that. So let's put 800 by 640. No dice there. This thing is saying could try HTML. I know that the HTML works, so let's try that. HTML. iframe source equals that. iframe. Consider using iframe instead. I did consider it, and I tried it even. But guess what? Didn't work. Although that is a warning, it doesn't seem to have stopped it. It didn't seem to do anything anyway, so. Okay, iframing in the circuit's outputs doesn't work. Though it should. Frame source equals. That should work for us as well. Not ideal. Okay, it doesn't complain there, but it also doesn't work at all. Okay. That means that if we want to implement this kind of press play and get the UI, it will have to be an extension of its own. Well, doable, that's not ideal. Yeah, definitely not ideal. Because there's no real way for it to know all the stuff that's going on in the circuits file. Whereas when we're running the circuits file, it is in a kernel, and that kernel can have access to all sorts of stuff which we can take advantage of. But not if it's an extension, because then it's not running inside the kernel and doesn't really have access to any of the Python state. So that can be a problem. Okay. Could run it in a terminal, because that is interactive and that kind of works. But that's like a step backwards rather than a step forwards. Why doesn't this iframe render, even if it's HTTPS? This does work. It is a different it's a different domain name, so I can kind of see that happening. But if you can embed YouTube videos, there's no reason why that should be stopping from iframing something else just because it has a different domain name. Publish display data. Display. I think we're in this. Everything is the same display, so we couldn't use update display to update things as well. It does cut my plans short. Maybe we'll have a much longer stream today, because essentially my plans were to make this show up here and then have the ability to play with it. And then once you're able to play with it in here, we could then look into implementing more things inside of the Easy Agent, essentially kind of recreating all the functionality in the Zybo agent, but in a single class. So the class would be, Easy Agent would be really complicated. But from the user perspective, it would be, you just kind of tell it, who are you, and things like that. But I think we're going to need a lot more time to be able to implement that kind of UI, because it'll have to be a component, or not a component, but an extension for Jupyter Lab that somehow is able to talk to the kernel that's running your code. Or we just have a specific kind of run that runs your Python code and gives you access to it somehow. Any of the available ways is something we can do, like as a service or something like that. And when it's running like that, then it's kind of easier to make an extension because the code is running. Yeah, I think I'll have to think about that. It'd be way too long to create an extension from scratch for a live stream. This, if I trust the HTML, yeah, even if I trust the HTML, it doesn't run the JavaScript. It is here, though. Is there a... the document is sandboxed. The document is sandboxed. The document is sandboxed. Then that means that while it can't do the alert, it would be able to modify things in there, like modify its own stuff. Okay, so that's that. Let's one more time, run the inspector, clear the console, and run it once more. But yeah. It's implicitly not, it doesn't have the script at all. Opening the script here did, and pressing the trust button, I think, did get the script in there. Did get the script in there, but it it is sandboxed, which is fine because what I want is to disable the disabled in the inputs. And here, the script is completely gone. So can't do that from running things and getting the output in the output. Is there any other way? I can't think of any. Yeah, I think I might end the stream here today, even though it's kind of like on a downer because we didn't make anything. But I gotta rethink how I'm gonna implement this because it might be a lot more work than I was kind of originally planning. Because the plan was just to make the output kind of output HTML that would be useful for interacting with your agent in here. It looks like we're going to have to go with something a lot more complicated. And I'm not 100% sure how to go about that yet. I'll need time to think about it. But it is unfortunate because it would be really nice if you could just interact with it while it was running. We could interact with it via a debugger. It's a good question. I'm not sure how the debugger works. I don't think there is anything we can debug from here, right? Yeah, from here, it doesn't, Jupyter Lab doesn't know what we're doing, so it can't use that debugger. We essentially have to make an HTML or like a, maybe not HTML, like an HTTP server of sorts, like a web application. And that's really easy to do when you're running it locally. But when we're running it in the platform, there's only one thing that can listen on 443, which is already Jupyter Lab. So if we do implement it, it would have to be an extension into the Jupyter Lab server, which is something we can totally do. Yeah, but that would be kind of complicated. You have to launch the circuit, the circuits thing, and then expose parts of it in some generic way, which could possibly be doable with like some kind of hacky thing. But that is, that's one way to do it. But yeah, I don't have the energy to continue on down that path. So I think I will end the stream here. A little short one, just 2.5 hours. But I did get to kind of give you guys a sneak peek of the platform and sneak peek of what we're kind of implementing in terms of the new component library. And yeah, if you're interested in these things, head over to Xpress.ai and sign up for the waitlist. And this will be done really soon, maybe less soon than we expected, but not much longer. And yeah, I think that's it for today. So I'll see you guys next week. And yeah, let me know if there's any feedback. Talk to you guys later.